President Trump will be joined at the White House by his new national security advisor, H.R. McMaster.
He's a man of tremendous talent and tremendous experience.
McMaster is an active duty Army Lieutenant General, a veteran of the Gulf War and Afghanistan, and commander of U.S. troops in Iraq. He's a soldier scholar who earned a Ph.D. in military history from the University of North Carolina. A military strategist, he wrote the popular book Dereliction of Duty, a searing criticism of political decisions made during the Vietnam War, decisions which he believes should have been challenged by the U.S. generals executing the war. As National Security Advisor, he replaces Michael Flynn, who was fired from the job after misleading the vice president about his phone call with the Russian ambassador. McMaster will remain a member of the Army while he serves as National Security Advisor.
What a privilege it is to be able to continue serving our nation.
Both Republicans and Democrats praise Trump's choice, including John McCain, who has often been critical of Trump. The Arizona senator tweeted, "McMaster is outstanding choice, man of genuine intellect, character, and ability." And on a key issue of national security, 30 days into the Trump presidency, the fight against ISIS is intensifying. Defense Secretary James Mattis has just returned from Baghdad, where he met to plot strategy with military officials and the Iraqi Prime Minister.
I assure you we are going to stand by you through this fight.
U.S. and coalition airstrikes are now helping Iraqi forces in the final battle to drive the Islamic State from western Mosul. And here at home, another item of business for the president this week: immigration. He's expected to sign a new executive travel order, temporarily banning immigrants from 7 countries with links to terrorism. They're the same countries as in his previous order. The president's initial travel ban was blocked by a federal judge and then upheld by a panel from the Ninth Circuit Court. The difference this time, the new order will reportedly include tighter language, but will be less restrictive. Green card holders and people with visas from those 7 countries will be allowed into the United States, and Syrian refugees will be considered on a case-by-case basis. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Well, Jay Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice is with us. And Jay, what do you think? What major changes are they going to put in this order? Do you know?
I think there's going to be 3. One is going to be the issue of visas and green card holders. Those that have lawful status within the United States will be able to continue to utilize their visas. That was a question that arose in the last executive order. It took a White House memorandum to clarify that, in fact, visa holders and green card holders were not subject to the order. But that was a White House memorandum, and the Ninth Circuit said that memorandum is not binding like an administrative agency's determination, like an HHS memorandum, so to speak. So that will clarify that issue. The second issue, I think, from what I'm hearing, is that the Syrian refugee ban, or at least hiatus, if you want to call it that, is going to be put back within the context of those 7 countries. So they'll be under the same footing as the other 7 countries, not an outright prohibition for an indefinite period. The third thing, excuse me, Pat, and I think this is also going to be significant, there's going to be a very clear start date here. We're going to know when this order goes into effect. That was part of the problem, was people were in transit. So you're going to have a clear start date. Those were some of the recommendations that we made. I haven't seen the order, but what I'm hearing from my sources is that those kinds of changes will be in the order, and that should make it pretty much bulletproof for a challenge, although I do expect that there will be a challenge.
Well, you helped draft it, right? I mean, is that right?
Well, we gave suggested language. Whether that's in the order or not, we'll see. But we gave language that we thought that if the case was to be challenged, that this was the kind of language you would want to have. And I suspect that some of that type of language, if not the verbatim language, but some of the similar context will be in there. It's now been reviewed by White House counsel, Office of Legal Counsel, the Justice Department. So I think it's a positive development.
Well, now, is he going to withdraw the other and then resubmit this? Is that the game?
So yes, so this will supersede the existing order, which will then moot out the current litigation. So the Ninth Circuit case, which has already been stayed, in other words, it's not moving forward pending this. The Justice Department in a filing said that a new executive order is coming. It will supersede this one, so hold this case in abeyance. It will. Then this case will be dismissed as moot. I suspect Washington State and Minnesota will file another lawsuit, and we'll be back in court again, and we're going to be filing briefs in that as well. But it's going to make it a much more difficult challenge. Now, what the Ninth Circuit does, you and I have talked about this for 30 years. Who knows what the Ninth Circuit will do in a situation like this? But at the end of the day, if it goes to the Supreme Court of the United States, I feel confident that we could see a unanimous victory.
Well, couldn't he file in a different jurisdiction to get out of that Ninth Circuit?
Well, the problem is the groups that are challenging it are forum shopping. They know that their most likely success is in the Ninth Circuit, and particularly with some district court judges out on the West Coast. So here, the president is not in a position, the administration is not in a position to be the plaintiff. They'll be the defendant because the order will be challenged.
Oh.
So that's how this will move forward.
So they're defendants in the suit rather than initiating
Correct.
a suit. Okay. Well, you believe, they've claimed this is a so-called Muslim ban, but these are the same nations that Obama targeted because they're rife with terror. They didn't name Indonesia.
Yeah, these are 7 countries of origin with known terrorist concerns and where countries cannot verify the whereabouts or the identifications necessarily of the individuals seeking access. Also, 85% of the Muslim world is not impacted by this. So to say this is a Muslim ban, this religion clause argument, which a district court in Virginia bought, is ridiculous. It's absurd. There's no question in my mind that at the Supreme Court of the United States, I've argued a lot of religion cases at the court, as you know, through the American Center for Law and Justice, and there is no way that the court's going to find that this is a violation of the Establishment Clause, for goodness sake. I mean, there's no way that could happen. So I think at the end here, as I do expect litigation, though, Pat, I think we need to be prepared. Our teams are already working on the Establishment Clause arguments, on some of the other presidential authority arguments, because I think that's going to happen. Well,
will they expedite it to the Supreme Court? I mean, will the court reach down and pick it up from the Ninth Circuit, or will they stall around?
I think if the Ninth Circuit declares the order unconstitutional, I think you will see an emergency stay taken to Justice Kennedy. He would probably refer it to the whole court. So you could literally be at the Supreme Court in 3 weeks.
Oh, that fast?
I think that's very possible here.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be really fast.
Well, it's tough, but that's the game, isn't it? That these guys are going to keep piling on lawsuits. Everything Trump does that these guys, the left is going to challenge him and tie him up in the courts. Is that the game they're going to play?
That is, and in a situation like this, they've mobilized already. They've had their practice run. This new executive order is going to make it much more difficult, but I can't imagine, even if it's just the 7 countries of origin, which, as you said, Pat, were under the Obama administration, Washington State's going to file a lawsuit. They pretty much hinted at it already. So I think the administration this time is prepared. Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, he's in place. You've got more lawyers now in the Department of Justice, more lawyers in the Solicitor General's office. Outside groups like ours will be engaged. So we'll be able to defend, but this will be a much cleaner order to defend. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing this put in operation successfully.
Boy, well, it's just, but I mean, they can keep filing lawsuits till the cows come home. There's no limit. Who's driving?
I think they need to I think the administration, I think they're doing this, Pat. The administration needs to operate under the assumption that any major policy change, whether it's this one on immigration and refugee status and asylum, or whether it's going to be the repeal and replacement of Obamacare, or any other regulatory matter, I think the administration needs to be prepared that the left is going to utilize the courts. Why? They don't have the House, they don't have the Senate, and they don't have the White House. So they go to the third branch of government, the Article III branch of government, the courts. That's where this is going to be battled out.
Well, if you were doing it, which circuit would you rather be in? If they've got to get out of that Ninth Circuit. Those people are so far.
Yeah, I mean, I wish somebody would bring the case in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. That would be a better run for us.
That's right.
Even the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, where Judge Gorsuch, the nominee for the Supreme Court, is coming out of. There's a number of other circuits I'd rather be in than the Ninth. But, Pat, I think we need to buckle on the seatbelt. I think it's Ninth Circuit. It's going to be in the Ninth Circuit. Okay, they're going to challenge this on the West Coast, yes.
And you think we're going to win it now with these tweaks, these amendments? It's going to.
Yeah, I think we win it at the. Obviously, I haven't seen the order yet, but I mean, assuming it comes out like I expect it to, I think we win at the Supreme Court. I'm not confident of a win at the Ninth Circuit because I think the court's just too politicized. They are making policy statements. But I think at the Supreme Court of the United States, frankly, I don't see how a justice at the Supreme Court could rule against the president if this is tightened up the way it's going to be. By the way, we recommended also that it's put in there very clearly that any due process rights that apply to citizens or apply to non-resident aliens or resident aliens would apply in this context. All that is doing is what the law already says, but again, making it very clear that the due process rights, when they attach, will be recognized. Jay, only when they attach.
Stay with it, buddy. Thank you so much. God bless you.